Hello, testing. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and fans. It's a great pleasure welcoming you here to today's political rumbles here in Koweb TV. Of course, it is weekend, being the Sunday, the 15th day of September. Trust you're all getting on well. We welcome you to this political discourse as we, of course, interact and discuss on issues of importance and as importance on existence as a people. It is happening live and direct as events continue to unravel and people are apprehensive and at suspense over what might become the, of course, the future of the Nigerian political landscape and the existence. And some persons have been living in denial, and there have been so much unrest, insecurity, instability, and of course, confusions all over. Now, the set of insecurity across the entire region has become something that should be worrisome and give so much concern every person, not just the government, as the government battles and rattles over, of course, what to do to bring this to an end. Unfortunately, their efforts and strategies seems to have failed repeatedly. And of course, the declaration of certain operations, Operation Python bans, Operation uh, Safe Haven, Operation Safe Daji, and whatever across the entire region has become something that is unfortunately failing. Of course, several people has called the government and those who should know better that except insecurity, unemployment, and poverty is addressed, you can't fight anything. You are rather deceiving yourself. And to this end, the chief of army staff, of course, at the combatant field, have come to that reality, making this very submission that Nigeria must certainly address poverty, unemployment, before they can end insecurity. This is now coming from the chief of army staff. Of course, he has understood that the fight against insecurity with the instrumentality of force is an aberration, is total deception, and they don't want to live in this deception again. Of course, being the chief of army staff, he understood the modus operandi, and all his strategies and approaches has failed the Nigerian military. Of course, unfortunately, most of them have become casualty of this insecurity. Those who should protect the Nigerian territorial integrity are becoming victims within the said territorial integrity. I mean, it's just like somebody dying in his own home. It's quite unfortunate, but then that is the reality starting of. I welcome you this moment to this exciting moment. As you join us, kindly hit the like buttons, share this video to any platform you can as well, as much as you can, of course, so that people will join us in this discussion. The chief of army staff have made this shocking revelation by inference or interpretation, as we are to analyze today, that all the tactical maneuvers, approach strategies deployed by the security operatives is failing. You have understood that except poverty that is ravaging the entire country is addressed, except the rate of unemployment of the teeming populations of the youth, which are predominantly uh, the major percent of the population of Nigeria, are suffering from poverty, poverty stricken, poverty personified. You can't fight insecurity. Why? Because poverty has put several people into uh, criminality as a way of survival. Poverty will strive when you empower people to commit crime and they have incentives, they have encouragement from that. I mean, that become a way of life if, of course, somebody who is not employed and who has no other hope for survival, offering him some opportunities to commit crime and, of course, be encouraged in criminality by inducement or of course, some incentive. Ha, the person will become professor of crime. If it is killing one person, just in Nigeria, where we've had, of course, people arrested with human hairs and parts, they were told, how much do you take to kill this person? He said, some people 500. When somebody, because of 500, has to kill somebody to bring the head to the people, to the ritualists, just as on the pages of newspaper, that Nigerian youths, Yahoo boys, are now, of course, confessing that they are into ritual. You know what that means? Destructive rituals and gangs everywhere because they want to meet up with the economic demands and the social economic challenges bordering on their existence. Just as everybody is left to himself, if you die, let the devil take you. God for us all. The politicians are for themselves and for their cronies and for the allies, or the majority of the masses to go to hell. If they so desire, it doesn't matter. Of course, just as the 10th Senate president said that the life of 200 million Nigerians is far less than in value to that compared to the president, that they can go to hell provided the president procures the private jet. That is the need of the country. They are not to be scattered. Priority should not be placed on the needs and welfare of the citizenry, but the politicians can live at the expense of the masses. It doesn't matter. Yeah, of course, we can allow them to breathe, otherwise, choke them to death. It doesn't matter. Of course, in the recent 10 days protests organized by Nigerians to protest against hunger, starvation, and economic instability under the watch of the President Ahmed Bola Tinubu. The same Senate as President Akpabio God's will. Unfortunately, this destructive will, no longer the God's will, neither is it for the will of the people, but it's for the will of Akpabio and his cronies. It's no longer God's will that is prevailing. Of course, people has almost lost their voice and the value in Nigeria today. Akpabio said that, of course, you can go to the street to protest while we sip our tea, while we enjoy ourselves. It doesn't care whatever is happening. Very pathetic and very unfortunate. You now consider what, in the first place, could have given these people, the infantry, the opportunity to superintend and govern over the states. You see the level of empathy, rascality, insensibility, and irresponsibility on the set leaders who unfortunately rode into such positions through the people. And they claim to be representing the people. Unfortunately, when they get there, they turn their back against the people and stab them, of course, bleeding to death. It's very unfortunate. Now, most military or Nigerian security operatives has been pushed to, of course, the combatant regions, the hot regions of this country, and eventually, majority of them, in their thousands or tens of thousands, have been lost. They have been killed, and their families is now bereaved. Of course, their fathers, their children are now of fatherless. Of course, some orphans, because they may have as well, in the course of that, due to economic pressures on the wife. The wife may also give up because when she is confronted with the realities today, you have many orphans, of course, on the street who are now being aggrieved by what the society has forced them to become, serving in different capacities in the security uh, structure of Nigeria. It is now done on the Chief of Army Staff to speak out. Sometimes in the past, they have been living in denial, but the chief, today the Chief of Army Staff has come to say, no, we are deceiving ourselves. We can't be fighting the same Nigerian masses, Nigerian citizens with guns and barrels of guns and bullets. Of course, it is no longer yielding any fruit. Rather, we are becoming casualties, and the battle against insurgency, insecurity is not being won by any means. What does that mean? All the billions expended in procurement of ammunition and armories have proven to be abortive and a waste of resources. If those resources, enormous resources, running in their billions, were invested, of course, to better the lot of Nigerian citizens, empower them, and give them a better hope and prospect, that will reduce the state of insecurity. But unfortunately, people are losing their jobs, people are being stranded, people are hungry and haggard. You cannot tell a hungry man, of course, not to survive if that becomes necessary, except for relatively few people who, by virtue of their religious rest, by virtue of their religious beliefs, might be restrained or constrained from doing that because of their faith in God and perhaps morality. But some who cannot hold back, who cannot endure this level of economic hardship, criminality, of course, are being forced to the street or committing crime, constituting, unfortunately, nuisance, even against their fellow innocent citizens, rather than targeting the politicians who has brought so much unrest and economic woes upon them and their families. Well, I am not saying that all politicians are rogue, all politicians are criminal. That is not my position. But of course, the majority have proven otherwise. The reason why Nigeria is what it is today, we have several head of states or presidents in the past of Nigeria state that has state-of-the-art refineries in Malta, in Indonesia, in different parts of the world. They are functional. They built state-of-the-art facilities, and today Nigeria cannot boast of any refinery. You know what that means? Today, you see how Nigerians are battling for survival. Some people withdrawing their children west from distant schools because they can't cope. The transportation alone is choking, let alone the increment in school fees is quite. I mean, that can give you heart attack. If you get to, because the school has to float, otherwise they will go moribund and shut down. And what does that mean? People more pressure on the masses of this country. And you said you can fight insecurity. Who born you? More people will join insecurity if poverty is not addressed. And how do you address poverty? There must be political will, sincerity, and consciousness. Deliberate attempts, moves, define policy objectives, and definite plan, roadmap on how to address this poverty. What is the reason for this poverty? Why is poverty in Nigeria becoming the center of poverty of the world? Today, you see Nigerian citizens taking pleasure, luxury, feeding in dustbins. Feeding in dustbins, people are finding it extremely difficult to survive. For such people, if they are offered any monetary inducement or incentive to commit crime, would they do that? People are into organ harvesting. Why? Because When the desirable is not available, of course, the available becomes the desirable. They begin to seek ways to survive. These are just driven by the instincts of surviving in such hostile environments, in such economic mishaps. Ordinarily, there was a time, of course, unfortunately, most of the factories in Lagos and environs have gone moribund, and people were retrenched, nowhere to fall back. What do you expect these people? They can get any available gadget and begin to commit crime. And unfortunately, you must say they have no justification for the crime. Yes, but the only justification for the crime is that they are hungry, they are being impoverished. Poverty is being weaponized by the political class. The only people who are not traveling, leaving the shores of Nigeria, are politicians. They rather, of course, shop in Dubai, in America, in London, and still come back. When they want to buy singlet, they they bought, of course, the latest private jet. They check out and, of course, shop for singlet, shop for boxers, and attend parties here and there, uh, spread dollars in the parties, and, of course, come back to Nigeria where they make and suck the country uh, to death while people are suffering. Just as the past president, Goodluck Jonathan, said, how can we have a politicians where their children are spreading dollars, millions of dollars in parties? You see, without working for it because their families or their fathers, their mothers are opportune to be occupied in any, of course, political position. And that is quite unfortunate. So, how do you build and address insecurity in a society like Nigeria? Unfortunately, that has become almost impossible because of the endemic corruption. As one of the Western leaders said, uh, Nigerian politicians are fantastically corrupt. Even corruption in the military, because most of the billions voted for the procurement of arms and armories was somehow diverted. We saw what happened then, of course, where they cannot account for $1 billion that was voted for the procurement. Story was told, and at the end of the day, that died down. That was under Brutai also, yes, as the chief of army staff. Everything went down. Of course, uh, the public do not know how that probing or investigation uh, finally was carpeted. These are just the list. There have been several endemic corruptions and allegations of conspiracy aiding in ammunition exchange and trafficking in exchange for money. So the chief of army staff now is living in the reality of the times. And I've come to tell the truth about the state of the nation. That the strategy deployed by the Nigerian politicians or government is failing and has failed woefully. For him coming out to say, Nigeria must, as a matter of urgency, address poverty, which is the major cause of insecurity. And unemployment, of course, when people are not gainfully employed, engaged, they will be forced to be wrongly or criminally engaged. Of course, they say that an idle man is the devil's workshop. You know what that means? If somebody like Chigozendibo will double into criminality, if I meet you, you will not survive. You know what that means? You see, I will deploy all studies, intellectual and other. You know what that means? So that is the problem. And how do we address this problem? That is fundamental issues, of course, and subject of discourse today. How do we address this problem? It is not new, it is not surprise. But unfortunately, the politicians and those within the corridor of power are privileged to occupy certain strategic positions in Nigeria. Of course, even in the local level, the states are living in denial of the realities. Just as you can imagine, the vice president of Nigeria, of course, in Edo State yesterday, said that if APC wins the global election that is just around the corner, they will increase the allocation to the states. If APC wins, they will increase the allocation. The allocation that have been allotted to Edo State, what are they using it for? They share it among themselves, and the state remains impoverished. The masses remain impoverished. So it is the sharing formula. Of course, once you are in control, we give you the allocation. The highest allocation in the history of Nigeria, of course, dispensations, is under the watch of Tinubu, where the judiciary allowances, salaries was increased 300%. 300%. Why Nigerians are dying in hunger, starvation. I mean, poverty-stricken region. We have a senator, a senate president who presides over more than 95% impoverished masses, and do not think about that. Even when people raise concerns, when people pointed out the area that they needed to work on, and of course, inspire hope to the masses. They told the masses to go and protest. You can die as long as you care. We don't care. We will be eating. Of course, they are eating, going fat, and nothing has changed. Quite unfortunate. This Vice President of Nigeria, Shetima, said if APC wins the Cuba election in Edo State, they will increase the allocation coming for the state. You can imagine. Allocation is no longer a function of productivity. It's a function, of course, we are in charge, and we can spend the money. And on how do you justify the increment of allocation to a Edo State where you have not addressed the insecurity, the poverty, the unemployment? If you have said you will create employment and the APC will deliver the vision of democracy to the Edo people, that would have been different. But unfortunately, even at the center, what have you delivered? You have underperformed. In fact, you have fared woefully according to, of course, public opinion and the impulse of the masses. The present situation is biting very hard, and people are not comfortable with whatever is happening today. It's very unfortunate, but that is the reality on ground today. How do you solve this problem? The same Shetima, the vice president, why some regions and, of course, some socio-cultural bodies like Afenifere, Ohaneze Ndị Igbo, the Middle Belt Forum, we are calling and clamoring for restructuring as a way of addressing the lingering, of course, crisis bordering on insecurity, poverty, and unemployment. If the regions can manage their own resources and control their own security, there could be an opportunity to create more viable opportunities for jobs for the teeming populations, and of course, people will be carefully employed. But the same Shetima said, restructuring under my feet. Now, how do you address the issue of insecurity? If those who should know better are opposing what would have engendered prosperity, creation of jobs and opportunities for the teeming population of this country, then you can understand their insincerity and dishonesty in the service to humanity. They don't meant well for Nigerians. Otherwise, they would have, of course, shared their own personal interests to embrace uh, what will benefit all as sundry. But they are not doing that because they understand that they will be dislodged. Their political and economic control of the resources will be lost. And they don't want that. They want to remain irrelevant even when their relevance is no longer sought, of course, for by Nigerians. They want to remain there, force themselves there. Now, now it is very clear reasons why the indigenous people of Biafra are calling for self-determination or the restoration of the lost sovereign state of Biafra. Prior to the Biafra war, between Nigeria and Biafra war, there have been economic revival. The Biafran region under the watch of the eastern region under the watch of uh, Sir Michael Opera was the fastest growing economy in the world, not just in Africa. Of course, he engaged technocrats and with his economic revolution plan, he was able to put the eastern region on the map of ever increasing developing economy. But after the war, everything was silenced. Of course, the industrial estates in different parts of the east was deliberately destroyed, and other infrastructures was collapsed in order to keep the eastern people in the dark, and of course to render them economic redundant and never to raise their ugly head up in terms of economy. The history are there, of course, for everyone to learn or to consult, but that unfortunately was the beginning of the downfall of Nigeria. Ethnic bigotry, religious sentiments, and of course, uh, is becoming the order of the day, and that have destroyed the very essence of existence and the fabric of Nigeria's existence, has eaten deeply, and it is quite very much eroding if actually it still does exist. Now, we are coming down to the point why Nigeria is what it is today. Prior to the, of course, just as I said, during the when Nigeria practiced the federal federal system of government or federating units, you saw what Awolowo did with cocoa and cola nuts. Was able to, of course, develop. At, the West was able to develop at their own pace, and of course, there were opportunity created for some Yorubas to access Western education. Free education was invoked. Now, where are those free education? With all the billions of allocation allotted to the states, how many states are running on free education, even in the West? Some who claim they're adopting uh, 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 Awolowo's principles and uh, style of government. How many states in Lagos State, I mean in Southwest, in West today, are giving free education? You can see that these guys are just not prepared to lead. They're only there for whatever interests, of course, they want to protect, especially their personal and political interests, not at the beck and call of the people. They are not there to serve the people. Now, of course, I believe that this message by the Chief of Army Staff is directed to the presidency, Ahmed Bola Tinubu, the Senate President, the House of Representatives, and other, of course, cabinets within this dispensation. That it is needless killing the masses of this country. You impoverish them, you weaponize poverty against them, you make them poor, and you still fight them when they indulge in criminality. No sense society would do that. The Western world, the Europe, of course, encourages their citizens, even when they have no source of employment. They are being given some stipends as a way of discouraging them from indulging in criminality, which of course will cost the government more to combat. So, in order to prevent more people, especially the youth, indulging in criminality, they have social security, social welfare packages for their citizens who are not working, depending on when opportunity to be employed is made available. Of course, the people will be moved out of that social status to another level. But do you see that? Nobody cares about social security. Unfortunately, just as the governor of Brunei, or is it Brunei, or one of the northern states, they said even the palliative, which was distributed, ended up in the hands of wrong people. It was mismanaged, misused, and of course, they did it the way it never got to the targeted audience. Those who needed those palliative never got it. Majority of them. So it was shared among politicians and their cronies. At the end of the day, what happens? What is happening is still happening. You begin to ask, how long do we continue in this? I think this message is well understood. Just as we saw in a viral video, one of Corporal Adewale uh, that was arrested as a prisoner of war. There have been silent war going on between Nigeria and the Biafran agitators who are seeking for their self-independence so that they can control their own resources and develop at their own pace to the common good of all within the same defined territory, which of course has become a nagging issue of concern. So some persons say that why should such person be tortured? I told one person, of course, that man Adewale is fortunate, and in fact, that is the greatest miracle for him to be spared and given another chance to live. There had been this serious acrimony, hostility among the Biafran Defense Force and the Nigerian security operatives, and even the Igbo indigenous nationalities who are in Nigerian uniforms has become victims, even within the eastern region. Of course, a very close relative of mine lost his very tight friend, who is an Igbo. Of course, everybody had it in Abia State, of most certain, where among the 5 casualties, Igbos happens to be, even in the same Abia State, happen to be 3 military personnel. So, what justification do you have to say that they are sponsoring ethnic war? That is madness. Nobody is spared. If Chigozendi Igbo should wear military camouflage today to the east or wear military uniform, I'm not a military man, I will not also be spared regardless Chigo, before they know that I'm Chigozendi Igbo. Now, what a real lala. But then, whatever be the case, they say, I will not even try it because nobody will be spared. So, for him to be spared under this current hostility, renewed hostility on both sides, it is a miracle, and I believe he will appreciate God all the rest of his life. If Igbos extractions in Nigerian military are not spared, I'm not saying that I support any killing of humanity, whether innocent citizens or uniformed men. But the truth is that what informed the destruction, what informed the breakdown of law and order, what informed agitation in the first instance, is because of the unaddressed state of the economy, injustice and imbalance in the system, and the shared wickedness and selfishness on the part of the politicians that wouldn't have been need, of course, for the Biafra Nigeria war if the Aburi Accord was implemented. Of course, the nagging issues bordering on Nigeria today, economic and security wise, would have been addressed by that Aburi Accord that was not kept or implemented. You see, the lingering issues are still staring at us today. Nigerians are still grumbling, of course, in dark, not finding their part, of course, on the part of economic progress and security wise. And some persons have been calling that let us go back to the Aburi Accord. What is Aburi Accord? Regional control. Let every region control their resources inherent within their territory and let them develop at their own pace. Let there be healthy competitions that would have addressed the nagging issues today where the chief of army staff have raised concerns. That would have, in the first instance, addressed the issue of poverty, the issue of unemployment, and of course, discourage the teeming populations of the youth indulging in criminality, in rituals, in Yahoo Plus. All these are rituals, occultism in the higher scale. So that issue is still staring at us. After 50 years down the line, 64 years independence, Nigeria have not found her path, has not found her feet. Dubai should be 50 years, of course, this year. 60 years of independence, Dubai, United Arab Emirates. How do you compare it with Nigeria's 64 years? By 1st of next month, October, Nigeria will be 64 years. 64 years of independence, or 65, say, whatever the case is. How do we measure the state of economy and development? Nigeria have been ever uh, been plunged into abysmal decline with progression is the order of the day. Dubai, that is marking 50 years this year of independence, assess them. These are the same people who came to Nigeria to ask for loan, to beg. They come to beg for assistance, which they were mocked, they were ridiculed, they were jettisoned by then Obasanjo, of course, as the head of state. Today, they are the ones laughing Nigerians. They are the ones deporting Nigerian citizens. They are the ones humiliating and embarrassing Nigerian citizens. That Nigerian citizens are now misfit to the society, to their own states. But do you have to blame them? No, you have to blame them because they meant well and the best for their own citizens. The real citizens of Dubai or the Emirates or whatever they call them, it's less than 1 million in population. The population of Dubai citizens are less than 1 million, about 850,000. You know what that means? It's not even up to a community in Lagos. But what did they do? Their economic plan was well defined, well articulated, because they want to address the issue of poverty, unemployment, and create wealth, and of course, better living conditions and working for these conditions for all, most especially their own citizens. Today, they are becoming, of course, the envy of nations, the center of attraction for tourism, and of course, doing business, which is skyscrapers. I've not been there, but the pictures and the virtual, of course, experience have shown otherwise. This is where most of Nigerian politicians and celebrities today, they tour like, of course, there's no tomorrow. These are people just marking 50 years of independence, of being on the path of nationhood. But Nigeria have not found her feet on the path of nationhood because of, unfortunately, bad leaders. We have leaders who are not patriotic, who only come to steal, to kill, and to destroy. And of course, they have succeeded to greater extent in doing that and silencing the masses as to make it worse. People who protested for an hunger strike, hunger protest was slammed 100 million, 10 of them. You begin to ask, does it mean that the common masses has lost their voice? And of course, that is the reality on ground. But today, the chief of army staff is now speaking up because the reality is done on them. The military, the police, the army are being targeted, even the Air Force. The presidential brigade was attacked of most recent. And Zafara, you saw what happened. Several casualties is being recorded. They have seen that no, the more the people are impoverished, the more they have the tendency of drifting into criminality. So, how did the government address this issue? Where is the level of sincerity, patriotism, and commitment on the part of the government or political class precisely? Would they have a rethink? Would they reshuffle their priorities and place, of course, the welfare and the, the security of the citizens above their political interests and selfish interests? That is the major question confronting us today. Thank God that is coming from the Chief of Army Staff. I believe that the President have received the message in good faith, and whatever happens, there's no shortcut to addressing the issue of insecurity, poverty, and hunger in the land, except there is political will, commitment on the part of the government of the day to address these issues. Except that is done, you should expect more insecurity, you should expect more calamity, disaster. Of course, definitely Nigeria. That is what the Chief of Army Staff is saying uh, by interpretation. He said, Nigeria must address poverty. The word means, the word must implies, within the context of this discussion, that that is the only way out. It is not the use of gun. It is not the use of bullets. It is not the Operation Python dance, Operation Self Daji, Operation this that can address that. So, how do the government rise up to this occasion? Is there any time for them to have a rethink? Well, of course, this issue has lingered as much as Nigeria existed or is in existence, but then because of inattitude on the part of the political class and the selfishness that have enveloped the entire system, every system within Nigeria or structure is potentially corrupt, fantastically corrupt. Everybody is just seeking for his self actualization, self accomplishment, and if you, that means embezzling the entire public funds at their own at the expense of the masses, it doesn't care. They don't mind doing that. What they need is to protect their uncertain future, and that is quite unfortunate. Looting the Nigerian treasury and banking them in different parts of the world, while Nigeria is wallowing in abject poverty. Too much poverty in, okay, it says the logical Republic of Nigeria. Well, of course, the chief security or the chief of army staff have come to the reality of whatever is happening today. That unfortunately, the combatant men that were wasted, that were killed, were just wasted for nothing's sake because of the inability or insincerity on the part of the politicians to tell what is the truth. They are the major problem, of course, of poverty, insecurity, and unemployment in the land. Rather than leave it up to their responsibility, her responsibilities to the people, they also mobilize the instrumentality of force to also silence the people, kill them, and of course, make them the men subjugated. Well, keep on the good job, the work. Okay, good morning. Okay, and happy Sunday. Good morning to you, Uchenna. I trust you're getting on well. Well, thank you from wherever you might be watching us. Okay, it's a good day. Chigozie is, he said, is Sowore arrested by DSS? Yes, we learned he was arrested by either police or special police at the airport, and after being squeezed, was also released. Yes, and that is the case. And just like that. Someone has been an advocate of good governance ever since, well, he joined politics. But some people also accuse him for sabotaging Jonathan's government. And of course, he has been able to prove himself not to be part of them by also criticizing the government of Ahmed Bola Tinubu over the recent economic mishap forced on the people. Of course, he said that that will lead to revolution any moment from now. Revolution now. This is what the chief of army staff is buttering today. Is supporting the position that it is a waste of time fighting insecurity without addressing the major factor, the major causes of insecurity, which is poverty in the land. Poverty don't be small, poverty get level. The the highest level of poverty is in Nigeria. Why? Because as people are poor, the government policies are making life more difficult for the people. Now let's see it this way. The very essence of governance is the people. Now, when you make law that is supposed to protect the people, to be against the people, then that government is an irresponsible government. It's a useless government. The essence of governance is the welfare, security of life and property of the citizens. Now, if you make the policies, your policies, to be anti-people, people feel pain because of the policy you made. Then, of what use is that policy if it threatens the existence of the citizens? That is quite unfortunate. I hope these guys will learn lesson from whatever is happening. They should not force the people to anarchy, just as the Yoruba elders, their Fenifere, have raised concern that Tinubu must address this rascality on the part of the politicians or leaders and the growing insecurity and poverty in the land. Honestly, it is very disturbing and unimaginable. Okay, all we need is Biafra. Of course, Chidera Epa, is it Chi? Okay, Chi became, sorry, or Chibu. Okay, Chi Dubem or something. So, this, okay, okay, Epa, thank you very much for making your position, opinion known. Yes, okay, is it 140,000 Biafrans Liberation Army are on ground. 140,000. Hey, now is it another World War III that is loading? 140 Biafrans defense force on the ground. During our Ojuko time, it was about 25,000 Biafran soldiers, and they were able to resist, of course, to greater extent, if not for the foreign intervention, the U.S., the Russians, of course, the Europe, and other African states, they joined hands to fight Biafra. Otherwise, that would have been a different story today. And today, that according to the alleged number here, 140,000. You don't mean it. Where are they residing? Why is the government of Nigeria not going after them? Or does it mean, of course, uh, at the Senate plenary, one of the senators representing Imo State and is it Ebonyi State, they said that the military, Nigerian's defense headquarters, knows where these people are, but they can't get to that. This is a serving senator under Nigerian government. He said it. And Akpabio Theo also confirmed that one of his close allies defied the seat at home on Monday from Akwa Ibom to Abia State, and eventually was killed, was shattered. He thought that what was happening was just a joke, but he was not alive to tell the story. So that's why I said Corporal Adewale was very fortunate to have been spared, honestly. If Igbo indigenes in Nigerian military uniform, police uniform are being killed, you know what that means. So it would be the most fortunate person to have been preserved. Perhaps there is something good that his parents did that appeased God, that God has a covenant that his children will not die just like that. Honestly, if you reason it that way, you understand that it's rare where people are being killed. These wounded warriors, these angry lions, seeking for whom to devour, as long as you are against and opposing their liberty and freedom. And of course, some person said Corporal Adewale was mobilized to kill and to harass those freedom fighters. So for him to have been spared is an act of God, nothing short of that. By my own opinion, and of course, based on the current realities, which the Chief of Army Staff today is affirming are the realities today. It's quite very interesting, obviously. Kindly hit the like buttons and, of course, subscribe to this channel if you haven't done so. It's quite interesting as we continue this discussion this evening. We just have a few minutes to be here. But before we wrap it on, let's just give one of the analysts here, Mazio Kokondem, is here, of course, to give his own perspective regarding this discussion. Just very brief, and because we are very much behind schedules, time is fast spent. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. This is Mazi Okokondem, the new Okokondem.
Yeah, the new Okokondem, Mr. Plant, the new Okokondem.
In the Second Republic
of Biafra, lead by Mazen Namdekalo and his happy OB government of Biafra. Long live Republic of Biafra, long live Mazen Namdekalo.
So, what are Biafrans under your watch as the new to ensure the release of your leader who has been incarcerated under DSS dungeon? Is there any hope?
You see, the problem is that the people that said they are struggling, they are fighting to bring Namdekalo out, are the people who kept him where he is. Like those are Hanres and Igbo. Those Igbo politicians, senators, reps, and whatever they call themselves, traditional rulers of Nigerians that are in Biafra land. Then we come out and say we are negotiating with government, political solution, where they are doing that kept Namdekalo. You see the problem. The problem is not the federal government of Nigeria to release him, but the problem are his brothers. This is why people always said that the greatest enemy of Igbo man is an Igbo man. You see, but coming to the real indigenous people of Biafra, Biafrans of Biafra, we are ready for the release of Nnamdi Kanu. Biafra government in exile, Mazi Simon Ekpa, and other true Biafrans in abroad, they are working hard, making every effort to make sure Nnamdi Kanu is out. This modern sit at home is part of it. 30 days lockdown of Nigerian access in Biafra is part of it. That's what part of the civil disobedience.
Nigerian access in Biafra or Nigerian presence in Biafra land?
Nigerian access is still Nigerian presence.
Because when you talk of access, we have banks, Nigerian banks still working, was allowed to work, and other, of course, business hubs are working.
When I say Nigerian access, those banks, although they are Nigerian banks, but they are individual. They are individual. That's why they are PLC. They are individual, not government owned. What we are talking, anything concerning Nigerian government in Biafra land, or Nigerian state governors or government in Biafra land. You understand? After all, if you come into access, what do they have in access? They don't have any access in Biafra land. So exactly what you are saying? Let their presence be removed in Biafra land and let them stop claiming Biafra as part of Nigeria.
Now, I don't know if you're aware of one Yoruba Nigerian corporal in military that was arrested by Biafran Defense Force. He was fortunate to have been spared by the same Biafra force. You know, this Yoruba corporal, the army was deployed to the east to kill Biafran Defense Force. But they were magnanimous enough to have spared his life. Now, Sunday Igboho has congratulated Simon Ekpa for his men sparing the Yoruba man. And of course, he will live to give praise. But some persons said they are starting tribal war. But Sunday Igboho, in appreciation, of course, has congratulated and has given vote of thanks to the Prime Minister of the Biafran Republic government for the release of this prisoner of war. Do you describe this as a prisoner of war?
Yes, it's a prisoner of war.
But why not exchanging, of course, the Biafran captive with that?
You see, one thing we Biafrans, we don't have that heart of destruction. But what you see now that is going on in Biafra land, the government of Nigeria push Biafra to the wall. They have nothing to do than to resist. That's what you are seeing all this killing. And let me tell you, what Ohanes and Igbo preachers are doing against Biafrans, if it's the north, they could be eliminated. All of them could be eliminated. And they cannot do it in the north. Now, okay, this Nigerian Yoruba nation,
Nigerian army.
Nigerian Yoruba nation, Nigerian army. You just Yoruba of Nigerian army. You see, they captured him, and he himself say he thanked Nigeria Biafran Defense Force, Biafran army for securing his life. When they capture him, they did not kill him. Rather, they treat him his wound. They treat him his wound. Now, this to show
People that came to kill them.
this is the heart of Biafra. Biafra regard human being more than any other thing. Life in Biafra is precious. Blood is thicker than water. That's why Biafra doesn't kill anyhow. You see, all those killing that they say that Biafra kill, Biafra neutralize is on self-defense. If Nigerian army did not come to attack, Biafra will never attack them. Checkpoint, if they're not killing on checkpoint, they a certain money, there'll be no problem. They could have gone, remove their checkpoint. And this is what Biafra said they don't want. Stop killing, stop allowing people to come in Nigerian army, Boko Haram herdsmen to come in Nigerian army. Killing, we don't want it. Leave the present, let your presence be leave from Biafra land. And so that there be peace in Biafra land. Now, this man, that couple that spare his life, will show the whole world that Biafras are not what they attack to. Like most the Yoruba, some not be all the Yoruba, some Yorubas tribal bigots that say Biafra is starting tribal war when they are the one. Had he been, Biafra is starting the tribal war. They could kill this man secretly without anybody knowing.
Of course, some Igbos were killed just in Abia State. About 3 of them, the governor of Abia went to visit him. Even Mazin Nnamdi Kanu, when he attended, of course, in one of the court appearances, he said, how can Igbos be fallen victims? He learned that 3 of the military personnel were from Abia State, Igbo extraction, but they were not spared. But this man was fortunate enough to have been spared.
Now, and this Biafran liberation army say we are living your life to go and tell your president Tulumbu, tell him that you should withdraw, not send you people again to our promised land. And this is the last chance we are giving unto you. If you try it again, if he capture you, we bury you alive.
Exactly, and I doubt the man will ever.
No, they may send him again.
My people say, onye, how did they say it? Onye ajo chamene.
No, onya.
Oha nkoro, aja nkoro.
No, onya water. Ahu ishungweri agbamoso. We miss a man that snake have bite once. When he see the head of lizard, he start running away. Think that is the head of snake.
Honestly, because it is one of the miracles of the century.
I am telling you that still Nigeria will still send him back.
If I'm the one, I can't go. With what I saw, is just like escaping the jaws of a, a,
Lion.
a devouring, angry lion.
Yes. You see, but if I were advise this man, immediately he reach home, let him put letter of resignation and resign. Because next one, I don't know whether he may have the same opportunity he has this time. I don't really have it in the next one.
Well,
So
he won't want to make such mistake.
Biafra have proved to the whole world. Biafra have proved to Yorubas. Kill Omibo. He's Omibo. Kill him. They are the problem of Nigeria. If you watch it, since 2023 election or from the 2022 campaign of election, you see that it was Yorubas that are that are come out fully against Biafrans in the name of Igbo people. They are the one that carried out. No, the North people were suspecting. Not went to silent, but the Yorubas carried out upper head. This one now will show them that they are the problem of Nigeria, not Biafrans, not Igbos.
And being magnanimous enough, they told him, go and form Yoruba nation. Join the Yoruba military, join Sunday Igbohu to fight for the freedom of your
Of their
people.
people.
And that is exactly what they are doing.
Eh? So I thank God how the Biafrans prove to the world they are really a nation that regard the human being, that they are not a troublesome nation. Forget about whatever Nigeria attack them. That they are not so.
Honestly, congratulations to that Corporal Dewale for God sparing his. It could be only God and nothing more. Then, away from that, the Nigerian Chief of Army Staff has admitted that Nigeria must address poverty, unemployment, to end insecurity, which means without addressing poverty, unemployment, insecurity, the fight against insecurity is just a joke.
You see, not only poverty, addressing poverty is not the issue, but listen to the crying of the people. Okay, if you want to address poverty, how can poverty stop insecurity? But listen to the cry of people. Try to stop Boko Haram, Fulani herdsmen. Then listen to the cry of the Biafrans. Give them what they want. Let them go. And this one that remains as Nigeria, you can be able to manage it. It seems that Nigeria is too big for whosoever says president to manage. Then as Biafra want to go, let Biafra go. And let Nigeria be in a content that whosoever is their president can be able to manage them. You understand? And the military Biafra go, then you know who are the really indigenous people of Biafra, of Nigeria. The military Biafra step out, you will know who are the really indigenous people of Nigeria. Because the West, Yorubas, will not allow the mineral resources to take to feed people are coming from Sahel. And the real northerners will not allow Sahel to come and take over now because everybody is manning his own domain. That's how it's supposed to be. But where Sahel are coming, vandalizing, you commit all sorts of crime, they will say it's Igbo man, it's Igbo man. Because they are taking the resources of Biafra to feed those people. Now, when they go, resources of Biafra will never be a national cake anymore. They will not know how to manage their resources and not allow outsiders to become like eating for their resources. Because I am sure if Biafra go, they've never used Yoruba resources or Arewa resources to go and develop something like Niger, build roads for them. They will not agree.
Thank you so much, Mazio Kokondem. God bless you. Do have a very fabulous week ahead.
Yeah,
And to SM fans who have been part of this program, we do appreciate you. Of course, you can as well hit the like button, share this video, and also make use of the super thanks or chat to say thank you for what we are doing. Of course, for humanity this moment. It's been an interesting moment with Mazio Kokonde.
Yeah.
Your parting words just in 30 seconds.
My parting words is Biafran army, Biafran government, the indigenous people of Biafra, the real Biafran that are fighting for freedom of Biafra. They should keep on. God is with us, and we shall, at the end, we shall reap the good fruit of our labor, and so shall it be in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you once again, Mazi Okokondem. God bless you for being part of the discussion. SM fans, it's been, of course, an interesting and intriguing moment here, sharing ideas and opinions about issues of importance. Go and build Yoruba Nation Army, of course, is the serious message coming from the Biafran Defense Force to Corporal Adewale, who survived, of course. the hostile environment on a mission uh, to do what is needful, uh, sent by the Nigerian government. But he ended up becoming, of course, prisoner of war and eventually was fortunate enough to have been spared. Congratulations to him and his family, of course, for such great opportunity or miracle, as I may say. It is really, of course, experience. Once again, of course, they said, Agua Omara Omara Atoro Feke. Of course, Ofewaiga not here. But whatever be the case, opportunities might not repeat itself. People fail to learn from history. Of course, the chief of defense staff or chief of army staff was not wrong by his submission that except insecurity is fought by addressing poverty and unemployment, we go nowhere as a nation. You can't engender prosperity, progress for anyone within the region, of course, defined as Nigeria. So if you want to entrench prosperity, progress, peace, equity, and fairness, there must be commitment on the part of the politicians and the so-called leaders in addressing the myriads of problems bedeviling us. Otherwise, more people will be forced, uh, consciously or unconsciously, into criminality, and that will worsen the state of insecurity in the state. And of course, everybody is having a fair share of that. The military are not spared. The security operatives, the police are becoming targets of this state of insecurity. Now, everybody is being armed and people are indulging in criminality, haven't tested it as a way of making, of course, one of the most fortunes and free money, of course, through kidnapping, through organ harvesting, and the rest of the them. Of course, the youth are not left out, indulging in Yahoo Plus and rituals, organ harvesting, and whatever. So, criminality has come to stay as long as poverty, unemployment is not addressed. That is the submission of the chief of army staff, and I think he's in the right path. And of course, I hope those who should know better, or who, of course, is responsible for the economic policies and our Commonwealth should have a rethink. Otherwise, things might spiral out of hand. We don't pray for that, but the signs are, of course, everywhere. And we can see the reality starting at us that when you fail to address crucial issues, of course, and you leave crucial issues untouched, disaster will definitely looms. And that disaster is catching up with us. And the chief of army staff is coming up to say the truth, to bar his mind over the state of the nation. Address poverty is a must. It is not negotiable. There is no alternative way out of this quagmire, out of deep mess, except poverty, unemployment is being addressed. Unfortunately, Nigerian leaders or politicians are borrowing to eat, are borrowing to share, borrowing to buy exotic cars, borrowing to buy private jets, borrowing to buy yachts and other things just in 1 year. You bought yacht, you bought private jet, or getting them. Is that the only priority you have in life as the president? Is that why you are running for the office of the president? Prior to this time, you have all the luxuries at your disposal. You have everything you have. You have your private jet, one of the fastest private jet. Now, why these misplaced priorities? Impoverishing the Nigerians the more. The masses are crying. When you watch at the streets, food is becoming almost difficult. Nigerians withdrawing their own children from school only to focus and prioritize foods. Eating now no dey easy o. As some persons are seeing me, I'm standing here, it is an energy I dey burn. And when I say you have to support this ministry and this program to continue, it is not a joke. But some people are taking it lightly. But whatever be the case, of course, we always appreciate esteemed fans who has stood with us in the past. I will say thank you, and of course, we needed more of your support. even at this very crucial and critical moment we found ourselves. Whatever be the case, we are committed to the service of humanity and we are not deterred, of course, whether we receive any encouragement from anywhere, but better still, we always appreciate when you acknowledge the service we are rendering to humanity, and of course, encourage us in the service to humanity. Things are extremely hard, but then who shall survive this? What the chief of army staff has said the truth is left for the government and the politicians to either buy into the truth or continue to live in self-deception and denial, thinking they could navigate of of course escape the calamity that is looming and very imminent. If this is not addressed, the nation is building an army of resistance, a destructive army, of course, who will plunge the country into chaos. We don't pray for that. But if you have made it possible by impoverishing the masses, creating unemployment, and demoralizing, even the security operatives are resigning, taking resignation because the poverty is also hitting them and their families. The take home is no longer sustainable, even to keep them, just as only transportation and feeding is something else. And for us living here with families and children, it is a miracle. And of course, it takes a strong heart to live in Nigeria and to survive, regardless of the up and downs, pressures coming here. Of course, we have developed a thick skin. However, odious and exacerbating any situation, we learn to keep our composure. And of course, to this end, we come to the end of this uh, political discourse here. Today, being the 15th day of September. Thank you once again, and bye from Chigo Zendibo. Wishing you all the best of the week, of course, ahead of us. Bye for now.